Now, Domestic Abuse Alliance, which is based in Watford, hope the free app called We Protect will help tackle the issue, especially during lockdown. Razi Hassan is a director of the Watford-based Domestic Abuse Alliance, and he joins me live on the line now. Good evening, Razi.
Good evening, Susanna. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Now, how much increase in demand have you seen since the start of the pandemic for this type of service?
So, obviously, as you're aware, and people will be aware, domestic abuse is a major social problem, and the service that we provide via We Protect enables victims to get protection as quickly as possible. It's obviously been very well documented that there has been a spike in the number of incidents during the pandemic. We saw a significant rise during the first wave, and now in the second wave also we're seeing similar numbers. But our app has actually just last week was rolled out across Hertfordshire as a police force across the county. Prior to that, we were piloting with the county. We had a very successful pilot phase, and then as of Monday last week, Hertfordshire Constabulary rolled out the app across all officers, frontline officers. So our numbers are a little skewed in the sense that we have a lot more officers now being able to make referrals.
Yeah. So, Razi, how does the app actually work, and where can somebody download it, I guess? Where can they get it from?
Yeah, so the app itself we designed this primarily for a frontline, people working on the front line of domestic abuse. So the Domestic Abuse Alliance, as an organisation, we work with all victim service organisations and anyone essentially that works on the front line of domestic abuse. And included within that, as you can imagine, is police and police officers. So the app is downloadable from Android and from Google Play. It is primarily for, as I mentioned, for frontline service providers. It's not something that would naturally encourage individual users, as in people, to necessarily download, simply because there is an element of safeguarding that we need to be careful of. We don't want somebody to download the app to make a referral for themselves. And then, as in many cases of domestic abuse, there is an element of coercive control. Someone could go through the phone and find the app, and it's not necessarily something that we would advise. But the app has been, as I mentioned, designed for those key workers, people working on the front line, to be able to, when they're with the victim of domestic abuse, whether it's from the scene of an incident or in a drop-in clinic or whatever it might be, to quickly able to make a referral for a legal protection for that individual.
Oh, that's brilliant. So it really just helps in that step, that referral process, to make that a bit speedier as well, so the person can get the help as soon as possible.
Absolutely. So the app itself is called We Protect, as I mentioned. It's an instant victim referral app. The referral is made typically within kind of a minute. Our team here at the Domestic Abuse Alliance will then contact the victim, and they will then assess what is required. More often than not, it's just some advice. People are worried; they don't quite know what their legal standing is, what they can do, what they can't do, and then in some instances where there is imminent threat or risk of harm, it will proceed, and then we'll do whatever we can to get them the protection as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Now, some of our listeners may be a bit confused by referral. What do you actually mean by referral? What does that actually mean?
Okay, so that's a very good question, and it opens up a couple of different things. Domestic abuse is it's a very, very difficult situation, particularly for someone that is affected by it. And one of the reasons we've kind of created this whole pathway is because the legal side of things can be a real nightmare, basically. And for anyone that is in a situation of domestic abuse, having to navigate through the legal side of things can sometimes be a real stress and a real burden. The terminology alone that is used is difficult. So, we try to do whatever we can to ensure that the communication to the individual when talking to them is as simple as possible in terms of language, and that they are handheld through the process as much as we possibly can. So referral is more of an internal term. It's something that we would use. For instance, an officer attends the scene of an incident, as I mentioned. They take the consent from the individual for referring onto the DA Alliance service. And then the referral is essentially that information about that individual, which then enables us to contact them, reach out to them and to assess how we can help.
Yeah, got you. Now, lastly, there's been a lot of concern, obviously, about the increase in domestic abuse, like you said, in the first lockdown and obviously in this lockdown as well. Do you feel that the government is, maybe doing enough to safeguard vulnerable people who are in that position?
There's obviously lots and lots that's happening. These are unprecedented times, as we're aware. There is a lot of talk, and I'm happy that the Prime Minister and other senior people have singled out domestic abuse as an area that needs support. Last week, I think it was some of the biggest pharmacies in the country launched a campaign enabling people to go in and to say a code word. I think it's Ask Annie, and then they can get support. So there are these initiatives, some of them that are being done by the public sector, some of them by the private sector. Funding is always an issue for all organisations. We as an organisation, we are not we're not funded privately, we are funded privately, not publicly. We do a lot of work for free, which is essentially pro bono work. So we have our own challenges and things, but the support is always needed, and the more the government can do, the better, because unfortunately, the domestic abuse situation generally is we're working hard to limit it and decrease it and doing what we can.
Well, Razi, thank you so much for your insight. It's been good speaking with you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And that was Razi Hassan there, Director of the Watford-based Domestic Abuse Alliance. Now, if you are concerned that either yourself or someone else may be experiencing domestic abuse, you can call Refuge on their free 24-hour helpline on 0808 20 00 24. That's 0808 20 00 24. And that's a free 24-hour helpline.